NSA Thrive. My name is Rich Hardham. We're here with John Lentini. John, all right?
Pleasure.
Fellow New Yorker. I like that, all
That's
right?
right, New York state of mind.
Welcome to the GMS Studios Theater here ourselves. And John, we had a conversation before, and your world is all about character, all right? And building character, not the characters themselves we see on TV, and let alone the characters that we see in New York, no less. All right, plenty of those. But character building, all right? And those building blocks themselves to a great character. We had also discussed some of that character may have lost its sight, may have lost its way a little bit. Okay. So let's breach this area of character. Okay. And from your, I know you got a couple of books coming out, a book coming out.
That's
okay.
right. Yeah.
And we can hedge a little bit on that, but I want to really dive into this character. What is this character all about? I know things have changed over the many years, these generations.
That's right. I deem it to be a crisis of character, or
Okay.
a lack of character, the diminishing character.
All right.
And when you look around us, I think most would agree. Whatever side of the fence you sit on, we all identify that character seems to be deteriorating.
Sure.
Generationally, from a corporate, public life standpoint. And when we look at mankind, we've been miraculously capable of replacing all the resources that we've seen diminish, whether they be agricultural, energy, or what have you. My view is character is the resource we haven't yet acknowledged is diminishing, and we need to take action and do something about it.
Sure. How do we categorize character?
So I've developed a 6-dial framework as a way to deliberately engineer character by choice.
Okay.
So I look at it through 2 lenses. We firstly need to learn to lead ourselves. Because we're all leaders, whether we're leading other people or just leading ourselves.
Sure, right,
leadership is a choice we can all make. And
we make a decision to get up, put your 2 feet on the ground. All right, that's the decision you have to make. All right, and that's, of course, you got to make that step forward. Yeah, let's go.
That's exactly it. So it starts with discipline.
Okay.
That is the engine room, and you need to crank it up, right? So you need to do those small, tedious, seemingly mundane things with consistency that don't necessarily lead to big wins every day, but over time will drive the engine.
Sure.
So discipline is the foundation. From there, you need to have the right mindset.
Okay.
The belief system.
Right.
You need to see your vision and believe in it.
Sure.
And inevitably, invariably, you're going to have setbacks.
Sure.
You're going to have failures. You're going to have disappointments. So that means the 3rd dial requires resilience.
Okay.
And the 3 of those in combination, interoperably, build upon each other.
Okay.
And they ultimately yield determination.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a determined leader who can lead themselves.
Sure.
Now, what we see in life and in the corporate world in particular, is many folks are very good at this, and they are very determined, and they'll get recognized for the results that they deliver because of navigating those 3 dials so effectively.
Right, exactly.
So they get promoted. They're tasked with leading other people.
Mm-hmm.
This puts a separate burden of accountability on their shoulders.
Sure. Were they ready for it? Not. All right. Were they bred for it? All right.
And are they seeing that leadership position as a privilege or as a reward?
So skills, knowledge, tools, techniques, resources themselves that enabled them to get it, or was it just good works?
Exactly. And the DNA of a results-oriented personality style will often get you into that position of leadership, right?
Right.
So then what are you going to do to lead others effectively so that they want to follow you? Not because you told them to, not because it's their job or because they're paid to, but because they actually want to fulfill the vision you have for themselves, right? So this requires an additional set of dials.
Okay.
This means you need to first and foremost have integrity, which is something we've seen deteriorate as well, right?
Big time. Yep.
And that's your moral compass, right? That's the navigation system.
Right. Yeah.
From there, integrity leads into needing to have the empathy. Empathy is a superpower. Often,
it is.
Often mistaken as a weakness. This does not mean coddling people's emotions.
Nope, not at all.
It means understanding what the person on the other side of the table wants or needs, because you can't get from them what you need if you don't understand what they need, right? And once you have that element of communication, which is the receiving side of communication, of understanding and listening, the final dial is influence. How do you influence people? And I mean true influence.
Right.
Getting people to do what you want them to do because they themselves want to do it, not because they're being coerced or manipulated.
Right, exactly.
And if you can navigate those 3 things, you can develop trust. So we've got determination from the first 3 dials, trust from the second 3 dials, and together, what do you think we engineer?
Character. Imagine that. What a concept, right?
So you knew I'd get there eventually,
right?
Yeah,
eventually. I knew we were going to get there, without a doubt.
So that's the model and the paradigm of how we can truly engineer character by choice.
Sure. You've laid out some steps out there all right, that I probably, with even my experiences, people will have a problem with step number one.
Yes.
Okay. And then individuals themselves, they may want to skip steps. All right. And then individuals will say, well, I know what it's all about. So I'm going to go right to the character. Okay. How do we combat this?
Great point. And there's strategies for each style. And it starts with doing an assessment, an honest self-assessment, and a helpful 360. So you get honest
Right.
feedback as to how your volume is dialed in on each of these components of the system. Once you see where your weak spots are, that's when you can figure out how you strategize.
Sure. Right.
Strong discipline is great, but without the right mindset, it's going to eventually wear down, right? Without resilience, the mindset will fail. You need to understand where your weak spot is so that you can then strategize and dial it up.
Sure.
This model was developed by me through various crisis moments. I'm a 9/11 survivor on
Good.
September 11th.
Yep.
Built a brand new business throughout COVID. Managed through the Fukushima crisis in
Okay.
Japan when I was based in Asia.
Right.
So crisis moments have really developed a lot of perspective for me that made me realize you need to make these choices in order to drive forward, and it can be done by design.
Sure.
And it took me some pain to learn this, and experience is what matters when you lead.
Sure. Usually those themselves that go through those experiences usually come out the other end. Alrighty. Hopefully building, and I want to say it, build a lot more character. All right. But there was one piece themselves you put out there already was the resilience part. Alrighty. And I'm seeing all those particular points. I know where they are. I know where they live. I've had problems with some of them too as well. Overcome. All right. Just like you. All right. We've found ways themselves to overcome. To do it over and over and over again, already, without getting into repetition, already, and to build that resilience or that hard shell coat, as we say, the old turtle wax coat, real tough for people nowadays.
Absolutely.
Okay? So what is the driver? They have to have a self level of motivation. Okay. This is definitely self-help. Okay. But I'm saying people themselves may not have the altitude or aptitude, all right, to compete with those. What's the next step?
Well, a lot of it comes down to perspective, right?
Okay.
You need to view failures differently. You need to understand that challenges are par for the course.
Okay,
We're
good.
all going to fail far more than we succeed in
Right,
life.
exactly. And fail forward is always the way we always say it. Fail forward builds character. There you go. Builds character and builds that self-esteem too as well.
Yeah, and I look at it this way: we all pay ungodly sums of money for our education, don't we?
Sure, we do.
And we're happy to go spend 6 figures to get a university degree or a certificate from a program or whatever it may be. And we choose to do that.
Just to hang it on the wall.
Well, you hope
there's
you're going to learn something
too as well.
Yeah,
okay,
I hear your point,
you.
but you do hope and expect, and often will learn something, right? But we don't apply that same approach when we make a mistake that, whether it costs us $50 or $50,000, you've invested in education. You have to perceive it that way. What can I take from this and move forward, right? How can I learn from this? How is this going to make my life better going forward? You never really know when a crisis happens if it's good or bad, because you don't know what the long-term impact is.
Until it hits you broad in the face,
Well, the thing is, it's redirecting you.
Yeah.
And it may be redirecting you to what you really should be doing.
Sure.
So it feels painful in the moment.
Sure it does.
But that's all part of the process, right? So you need to be coached through that. You need to understand that, but you need to navigate the mindset and the perspective and then the process.
Besides everybody, who is the best individuals themselves and people that need this? Is this more of a regional area? Is this more of corporate? Is this more of something itself from a realization point itself that people say, okay, in order for me to project growth, okay, these are the steps I need to take. Okay. And, or, where's your audience? Who's the best one, best fit for this material besides everybody?
Yeah. Besides everybody's a good point. Certainly it applies directly in the mid to senior level corporate environment. The first 2 dials are self-help model. So that can resonate with anybody. But of course, more broadly, the 6 dials are meant to develop broader leadership. And what I have found most often is based on personality styles, which are diverse. Some people either have the natural proclivity for the first 3, and they're very determined by nature.
Right, exactly.
So they get promoted into the senior leadership roles, and they struggle with the integrity and the empathy and the influence components, or vice versa. People have to take active measures to drive the discipline, to drive the the mindset and the resilience. And once they do that, then they get recognized and they thrive in leading other people effectively.
Sure.
And this is where the leadership versus management piece comes in, right?
Right.
Because you can manage very effectively without that second set of dials. But if you actually want to lead them, and by leadership, I often use a quote from Dwight Eisenhower. Leadership is getting people to do what you want them to do
it.
because they want to do it themselves, right?
Yeah.
And that requires you to navigate those final 3 dials. Management's something different. That's getting them to do it because you pay them to, because you tell them to, because you'll fire them if they don't do it, right?
Right.
And that's how corporate life typically unfolds.
It is, right.
Far too much management, far too many politicians, far too few true leaders.
Sure.
This engineers leadership with character.
Good. If there's one point of reference, and I know you got the book coming out and everything else like this, is there one point of reference themselves you want to help people and guide them to this principle? What's the one thing you can leave them with?
Well, as a plug, and doesn't directly answer your question, I will say I have a TEDx talk on the first 3 dials I think would really drive home the point and in a way that I haven't.
Where can I see that?
YouTube.
TEDx on YouTube.
So yeah, if you look up John Lentini, it's called 3 Dials to Lead You, a control panel for life and leadership. That lays out the framework for those first 3 dials.
Good, love it.
And you'll see how we build upon that with the second 3 when the book comes out.
Good deal. Love it. How can people reach you?
Best place is typically John J. Lentini on either LinkedIn or Instagram, johnjlentini.com as well.
Good deal. Superb. John, I think our viewers themselves really know and need to know are these steps. Okay. And I'm not only talking about individuals themselves we categorized, or let's just say characterized, okay? These individuals themselves of saying everybody needs this, without a doubt, because there are areas themselves that people cannot adapt to, all right? They can't control, or nor do they want to control, okay? It's your initiative, your drive going forward, how levels of accountability itself is really going to hinge how you're going to drive this forward. I think people seeing this on the TEDx and then reading through it itself, they're going to have a better opportunity. But I think it's also for our speaker crew out here, okay? Because they can really start to, because this is not an easy business, It's not an easy business from the standpoint of real estate. It's not an easy business from the standpoint of other people themselves in sales and managing positions. And I think itself, you got a winner going forward, without a doubt. So I want to thank you. All right. Thank you for spending a little time. All right. From a New York guy to a New York guy. All right. And John, and this is John Lentini. John, thank you very much for coming
pleasure.
in.
Thank you so much, Rich.
I enjoyed the conversation, and I hope to see an influence, because I want to finish this up. And by that time myself, I want to be able to read that book.
Sounds good. I appreciate the time. It's been a nice
Guys
chat.
themselves, I thank you very much, John. Thank you. And we thank you out there itself from Thrive 2026 GMS Theater Studios themselves. And we'll talk to you real soon. Thank you.